The quiet waitress greeted the billionaire's deaf mother. But no one expected what happened next when she signed back in perfect language, leaving the entire room frozen in disbelief. If you think this is just another love story, you're wrong. This is a story about secrets, betrayal, and a past that refuses to stay buried. Subscribe now, because what you're about to hear may be the most unbelievable thing you'll listen to today. Let's dive in and meet the woman who tried to stay invisible until fate pushed her into the spotlight. The chandelier above the dining room flickered with warm light, sending golden reflections across polished marble floors. I pulled at my apron strap for the third time that evening, trying to calm my nerves. My name is Elena Cruz, 25 years old, and on most nights I'm just another invisible waitress at one of Manhattan's most expensive restaurants. I had learned how to move like a shadow smile when needed, disappear when convenient. People came here to celebrate power and money, not to notice someone like me. And that was exactly how I preferred it. Table 8 wants their glasses refilled, and don't spill it on Mr. Kingsley again. Sarah, the head waitress, whispered as she rushed past me with a tray full of oysters. Mr. Kingsley. Everyone in the city knew that name. Billionaire, investor, ruthless businessman. The kind of man whose signature could make or break companies. He had been dining here for months, always with a sharp look that kept staff like me on edge. He never bothered to remember our names. To him, we were part of the furniture, nothing more. I picked up the chilled bottle of Chardonnay, my hands steady from years of practice, though inside, my chest tightened. Serving him was like walking on a tightrope. One mistake, and it felt like the whole restaurant would turn its head in judgment. As I approached his table, I noticed the elegant woman sitting beside him. She was older, maybe in her early 60s, with silver hair pinned back neatly and eyes that carried both wisdom and loneliness. She was trying to get my attention, soft movements of her hand, subtle, graceful. At first I thought she was gesturing vaguely, but then it clicked. She was signing, and not just random movements. She was speaking in sign language. I froze. My heart gave a sudden leap, because this was something I had not used in years. Still, it came back to me like a song buried deep inside. Without hesitation, I placed the bottle on the nearby counter, wiped my palms on my apron, and walked toward her. Good evening, I signed, my hands moving carefully but fluidly. How can I help you? Her face lit up instantly, like someone who had been waiting a long time to be truly heard. She signed back with joy, her fingers fast and full of emotion. Oh, wonderful. I just wanted to say the chef's risotto reminded me of a meal I once had in Florence. Please tell him it was extraordinary. I smiled, a genuine smile I hadn't felt in weeks. I'll be sure to tell him. He will be honored. Would you like me to ask about the ingredients? I know he uses a unique blend. Behind me, I sensed the room growing quieter, as if the usual chatter of Manhattan's elite had dimmed. But I focused only on her. The way her whole face glowed when she realized she wasn't invisible anymore. You sign beautifully, she told me. Most people just nod when they realize I can't hear. Where did you learn? The words slipped from me before I could stop them. I studied linguistics in college. It was the truth. But the moment the admission left my hands, panic surged through me. I had revealed a piece of myself I'd tried so hard to bury. And that was when I felt his eyes. Mr. Kingsley was watching me closely now, his gaze sharp, curious. Linguistics? His voice was low, cutting through the air like a blade. Which university? Heat rushed to my face. I gripped the edge of my apron. Just a few classes, I muttered, lowering my head. But he didn't look convinced. He leaned slightly forward, grey eyes studying me as though he could see through every wall I'd built. Not many waitresses speak multiple languages fluently. What else are you hiding? I tried to retreat, reaching for the bottle again, but his hand caught mine firm, not rough. The contact startled me. It wasn't just control in his grip. There was something else, something I didn't dare name. My apologies, he said softer this time, his tone shifting, almost human. That was harsh. I nodded quickly, pulling back. His mother, however, smiled at me knowingly, her fingers moving with a mischievous grace. My son works too much. He should meet more people like you. I swallowed, heat rising to my cheeks. Out loud, I translated for him. She says the risotto was delightful. He narrowed his eyes slightly. That's not all she said, is it? I looked away, pretending to busy myself with the glasses. But his mother's twinkling smile betrayed me. He chuckled, a sound so genuine it startled me, and leaned closer. She thinks I should meet more interesting people, doesn't she? I didn't answer. My silence was answer enough. That was the first moment I realized my carefully constructed invisibility had shattered. For months, I had been just another waitress. Now, Mr. Kingsley was looking at me as though I were a puzzle he intended to solve, and that terrified me more than anything. Because the truth was, I wasn't just Elena the waitress. I was Elena, the woman who once had everything: a career, a future, even a fiancé, until the man I trusted most stole it all and left me with nothing but shame and fear. And if Mr. Kingsley started digging, if he uncovered who I really was, my past would come crashing back into the present. The past I'd been running from for 2 years. When the shift finally ended, I sat in the staff room counting tips with shaking hands. My manager's voice echoed in my head. Whatever you did tonight, Elena, you made an impression. He left a $300 tip. That doesn't happen unless he plans to see you again. The words made my stomach twist. That wasn't generosity. That was interest. Dangerous interest. I shoved the cash into my purse, threw on my coat, and hurried into the night. The subway ride to Queens was long and noisy, but the sound of screeching brakes and half-asleep passengers was comforting compared to the silence of Mr. Kingsley's stare replaying in my head. When I finally reached my tiny apartment, I locked the door twice before collapsing onto the second-hand sofa. My whole life was in this small studio. Thrift store dishes stacked on a wobbly shelf, a mattress pushed against the wall, and beneath it, a locked metal box. That box was the only reminder of who I used to be. Inside were documents I never showed anyone: my MBA certificate, my CPA license, and most importantly, the original drafts of algorithms and patents that once carried my name, proof of the work I had poured my soul into before it was stolen. By him, David, the man I had once planned to marry. Even now, saying his name in my head made my chest tighten. He had taken everything: my career, my reputation, my money. He had filed false charges, frozen my accounts, and rewritten contracts to erase me from my own company. And the worst part? He had done it all with a charming smile that convinced everyone he was the victim, and I was the villain. I thought I had buried that part of my life. But when Mr. Kingsley grabbed my wrist tonight and asked about my education, I felt the ground shift. He was curious. He was digging. And curiosity from someone like him was dangerous. My phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. I almost didn't pick it up, but the message preview made my blood run cold. Hope you don't mind. Got your number from the restaurant. This is Adrian Kingsley. My mother hasn't stopped talking about you. Thank you for being so kind to her. I stared at the screen. He had gone through HR to find me. A billionaire didn't ask for permission, he simply took what he wanted. I typed a polite response, deleted it, typed again, deleted again. My heart pounded so loud I thought the neighbors would hear it. In the end, I turned off my phone completely, tossed it onto the bed, and pressed my palms over my eyes. But sleep wouldn't come, because the fear had returned. The fear that David would find me. And then, as if fate wanted to mock me, I opened my laptop, something I rarely touched, and typed his name into the search bar. David Moreno. Pinnacle Financial. The search results made my throat close. His company had grown even bigger, reaching international markets, praised for its groundbreaking risk assessment technology. My technology. But it was the latest headline that made my hands tremble so violently I nearly dropped the laptop. Pinnacle Financial announces strategic merger with Kingsley Industries. My chest constricted. My vision blurred. It felt like the world had tilted on its axis. Adrian Kingsley, the man whose mother I had spoken to, the man now texting me, was David's new business partner. Of course it wasn't a coincidence. David never left loose ends. He had ruined me once. If he knew I was still alive, still surviving, Would he use Adrian to finish what he started? My phone buzzed again. Even with the screen dark, I knew who it was. Couldn't stop thinking about our conversation. Would you have lunch with me tomorrow? Somewhere we can actually talk. A. K. I pressed the phone against my chest, torn between dread and a strange pull of curiosity. Every instinct screamed at me to run. To pack a bag, disappear again, change my name, start over in some other city. But running hadn't saved me before, and I was so tired of being invisible. So instead, against every rational thought in my body, I typed, "I work tomorrow night, but I'm free for lunch." The reply came almost instantly. "Perfect. I'll pick you up at noon. Wear something comfortable. I have a feeling we'll be talking for a while." I set the phone down with trembling hands. I didn't know if I had just made the biggest mistake of my life, or if I had finally taken the first step toward reclaiming it. The next day, I dressed in the only nice outfit I still owned, a simple navy dress that once belonged to my old life. It felt strange, like putting on someone else's skin. I almost changed back into jeans twice, but something stopped me. If I was going to face Adrian Kingsley, I couldn't look like the scared waitress I had become. I had to look like the woman I once was. When I arrived at the meeting spot, my breath caught. He had chosen the steps of Columbia University's library, the very place where I had studied before everything collapsed. He was already there, waiting with 2 coffees. His expensive suit replaced by jeans and a sweater, though he still carried the effortless air of someone who could buy the whole block if he wanted. "You came," he said, standing as I approached. "I wasn't sure you would." I almost didn't," I admitted, taking the cup from his hand. The warmth seeped into my fingers, grounding me. "But you did." His grey eyes studied me carefully. "Why?" I didn't answer immediately. For 2 years I had avoided telling anyone the truth, but for some reason, standing here, I couldn't bring myself to lie. "Because I'm tired of running," I said softly. His expression shifted, less calculating, more human. "Running from what?" I forced a smile. "Isn't that obvious? A waitress with a Columbia background. It doesn't take a genius to guess." "Not obvious," he said quietly, his gaze sharpening. "But it does make me wonder what kind of man forces someone like you to hide her brilliance behind an apron." My throat tightened. He was closer to the truth than he knew. "Tell me," Adrian said, lowering his voice. "Is it David Moreno?" The name on his lips made me flinch. The coffee slipped from my fingers, spilling across the stone steps. My hands shook uncontrollably. "You know him?" I whispered. Adrian's jaw tightened. "He's my partner. But from the look on your face, I think I just made a very serious mistake." The world tilted again, but this time I didn't run. I gripped the edge of the stone railing, forcing myself to stand tall. Because maybe for the first time in years I had found someone willing to listen. Adrian's words hung between us like a blade suspended in the air. David Moreno. I hadn't heard that name spoken aloud in 2 years, not since the night everything was taken from me. Hearing it now, from the man who sat across from me with curious grey eyes, felt like a knife twisting deep into an old wound. "You know him," Adrian said slowly, his tone careful, probing. "What is he to you?" My throat closed. The rational part of me screamed to lie, to laugh, to pretend David was just a distant acquaintance. But my body betrayed me, my hands trembled, my pulse hammered, my breath came shallow. I didn't need to answer. Adrian already knew. Still, I forced words past my lips. He was everything, and then he destroyed me. Adrian leaned back, silent for a long moment. Students rushed past us on the steps, laughter and conversations blending into the hum of campus life, but none of it touched the storm swirling in that small space between us. Finally he spoke. "Tell me." 2 words. Simple, but they cracked me open. For months, years even, I had kept my story locked inside, buried under layers of shame and fear. Now, sitting here, I couldn't hold it back anymore. "I co-founded Pinnacle Financial with David," I whispered. "Every algorithm, every model, every innovation that made the company valuable, I built it. We were partners in business and in life, engaged for 2 years, I thought, my voice broke. I thought we were building a future together. Adrian's jaw tightened, but he didn't interrupt. His silence felt like permission. But then, I continued, my hands curling into fists in my lap, he decided he wanted it all. He rewrote contracts, erased my name from every patent filing, fabricated documents to make it look like I was stealing from him. Then he filed charges, fraud, embezzlement. I spent months drowning in lawyers and humiliation. And at the last moment, he dropped the charges, told everyone he didn't want to ruin my life over a misunderstanding. My laugh was bitter. Magnanimous David, the genius businessman who forgave his unstable fiancée. And everyone believed him. Investors, friends, even my own family looked at me like I was a thief who got lucky. I swallowed hard, forcing the final truth out. By the time it was over, I had nothing. No money, no reputation, no career, just debts and whispers behind my back. So I ran. I changed my name. I disappeared. Silence stretched between us. Adrian's expression was unreadable, his grey eyes locked on mine. For a terrifying moment, I thought he didn't believe me, that he saw me the same way everyone else had. But then he exhaled slowly, leaning forward, his elbows resting on his knees. He lied to me, Adrian said quietly. All this time I thought his brilliance was real, that the technology he brought into our partnership was his own. But if what you're saying is true, it is true. My voice cracked, but I held his gaze. I can prove it. I still have the original drafts, the metadata, the research logs, all of it. I kept everything. Adrian's mouth tightened into a line. Then David Moreno has a problem, and so do I. I frowned. What do you mean? He looked at me with an intensity that made my pulse jump. Because I'm about to merge my company with Pinnacle. If David built his empire on stolen work, then I've been tricked into standing on a house of cards. And I don't like being lied to. A shiver ran down my spine. Adrian wasn't just angry, he was dangerous when angry. I could see it in the way his hands flexed, the way his voice dropped to a cold, precise edge. He'll deny it, I warned. He'll twist everything, just like he did with me. He's a master manipulator. You can't beat him with words. Good thing I don't intend to use words, Adrian said sharply. I intend to use proof and leverage, the same weapons he used against you. The fire in his eyes was terrifying, but part of me wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that someone powerful could finally turn the tide against David. Still, fear clutched at me. If you go against him, he'll destroy you too. He doesn't play fair, Adrian. He never does. Adrian's lips curved into a faint, humorless smile. Neither do I. Later that night, back in my apartment, I sat cross-legged on the floor with the metal box open in front of me. Old documents, printed drafts, backup drives, pieces of a life I had buried. My phone buzzed again. A new message from Adrian. Tomorrow. Meet me at my office. Bring everything you have. We're going to expose him. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Could I really do this? Could I face David again, after 2 years of hiding? Fear whispered no. But something else, something I thought I had lost forever, whispered yes. Hope. The next morning, I stepped into a world I hadn't seen in years. Adrian Kingsley's tower in Midtown, all glass and steel and authority. His assistant eyed me curiously, clearly wondering why her boss had brought a waitress into the heart of his empire. But when Adrian ushered me into his office, the size of a small apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the skyline, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Belonging. Show me, he said simply. So I did. One by one, I laid out the evidence. Early prototypes, email backups, original patent drafts with my name on them. Adrian's eyes flicked across each page with laser focus. When he finally looked up, his expression was grim. This is more than theft. This is fraud on a massive scale. If this comes out, David doesn't just lose his company, he goes to prison. I swallowed hard. You think anyone will believe me? They didn't before. Adrian leaned across the desk, his eyes fierce. They'll believe me, and I believe you. The words hit me harder than I expected. For 2 years, no one had believed me. Not once. And now, here was a man with the power to move markets, telling me my truth mattered. Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them away. Why? Why risk everything for someone you just met? His voice softened. Because when you spoke to my mother, you didn't care who I was. You didn't want anything from me. You just showed her kindness. Do you know how rare that is in my world? I shook my head, speechless. And because, he continued, his voice dropping, David Moreno just made the mistake of lying to me. No one lies to me and walks away unscathed. But I wasn't naive. I knew David wouldn't go down quietly. If Adrian moved against him, there would be retaliation. There would be blood, metaphorically, or maybe not just metaphorically. And as I left Adrian's office that afternoon, my phone buzzed again. This time, the message wasn't from him. It was from a number I hadn't seen in years. Elena, or should I say Anna, I hear you've been busy. We should talk. My heart stopped. David had found me. The message on my phone glowed like a warning flare in the dark. Elena, or should I say Anna, I hear you've been busy. We should talk. I dropped the phone onto the couch as if it had burned me. My entire body went cold, then hot, then cold again. I stared at the cracked ceiling of my tiny apartment, trying to breathe, but my lungs wouldn't cooperate. 2 years. I had built walls, changed names, vanished into the shadows. And yet, with one short text, David Moreno had found me. For an hour, I paced the apartment barefoot, my steps wearing a frantic path into the worn carpet. I thought about packing, about running, about buying the cheapest bus ticket to anywhere and disappearing again. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't matter. If David could find me once, he could find me again. That night, I didn't sleep. Every creak of the radiator sounded like footsteps on the stairs. Every shadow in the hallway stretched into his figure. I kept the light on, sitting against the wall with my knees pulled to my chest like a child waiting for the storm to break. The next morning, Adrian's voice filled my phone. Calm, steady, firm. I want you to come with me today, he said. My grip tightened. No, you don't understand. He'll destroy me the second he sees me. He'll twist everything like before. You have no idea what he's capable of. I know exactly what men like him are capable of, Adrian replied, his tone sharp. But this time he won't be facing you alone. He'll be facing me too, and I don't lose. His confidence rattled me. Part of me wanted to believe him, to lean into his strength. But another part, the scarred, broken part, whispered that no one could win against David. By noon, I found myself standing in the gleaming marble lobby of Pinnacle Financial, staring up at the glass tower that had once been my dream. My stomach twisted violently. My knees felt weak. Adrian stood beside me, crisp in a tailored suit, his presence a shield I hadn't known I needed. He leaned close and murmured, "Remember, you belong here. This company exists because of you." I nodded, but my throat was too tight to answer. The elevator ride was suffocating. 32 floors stretched into eternity. Each glowing number felt like a countdown to my execution. By the time the doors opened, my palms were damp with sweat. The receptionist greeted us politely, unaware of the storm about to erupt. Her voice was cheerful as she led us to the main conference room. "Mr. Moreno is waiting for you." Waiting. Of course he was. When the doors opened, the air was sucked from my lungs. There he was, David Moreno, standing tall at the head of the long glass table, dark suit flawless, smile polished to perfection. For a moment, my brain fractured, half of me seeing the man who once kissed my forehead goodnight, the other half seeing the predator who had gutted my life. And then his gaze landed on me. The mask faltered shock, recognition, and something dangerously close to fear flickered across his features, but it was gone in a blink, replaced by smooth confidence. "Adrian," he said warmly, crossing the room with outstretched hand. "Right on time. And you must be." His eyes lingered on me, cold steel beneath the charm. "Dr. Martinez, was it?" The casual dismissal was like a blade to the gut. He wanted to erase me again. Pretend I was nobody. Not this time. "Yes," I said clearly, forcing the tremor out of my voice. Dr. Anna Martinez, co-founder of Pinnacle Financial, although I believe your version of history claims I never existed." The room froze. David blinked once, twice. Then he laughed, a low, practiced sound. "There must be some confusion. Pinnacle has never had a partner by that name." My fingers shook as I unlocked my phone, sliding it across the table. On the screen, a photo from our launch party. His arm wrapped around my shoulders, both of us smiling like fools in love. The diamond ring on my finger sparkled under the lights. David glanced at it, then shrugged casually. "I attend many industry events. I've taken photos with hundreds of people." I swiped to the next photo. Us at the office late at night. Papers scattered, his lips pressed against my cheek. Another swipe. Our engagement dinner, his hand resting proudly over mine, the ring impossible to miss. "Hundreds of people?" I asked softly. My voice wavered, but anger steadied me. "Is that all I was to you, David? Just another face in the crowd?" For the first time, his smile didn't reach his eyes. Adrian leaned forward, his tone clipped. "She's not lying, and I have documentation to prove it. Patent drafts, metadata, partnership agreements, all pointing to one truth. You built your empire on stolen work." The charm cracked. David's eyes narrowed, fury flashing like lightning. "That's impossible." "It's undeniable," Adrian countered smoothly. "Which means this merger, it's over." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. David's polished exterior slipped. His shoulders stiffened, his jaw clenched. "You'd throw away a billion-dollar deal over her?" He spat the word like venom, turning his glare on me. "Adrian, don't be a fool. She's manipulating you. That's what she does. That's what she's always done." My body trembled, but I stood straighter, forcing the words out through clenched teeth. "No, David. That's what you do. You lied. You stole. You destroyed everything I built and then made the world believe I was guilty." His face darkened, the mask cracking. "You think anyone will believe you now, after 2 years of silence? You're nothing, Anna. Nothing without me." The words hit like a whip. Once they would have broken me. But not now. Not with Adrian beside me. "You're wrong," Adrian said, his voice like thunder. He pushed back his chair and stood, towering over David. "She is everything without you. And starting today, the world will know it." David's composure shattered. Rage twisted his features, his charm dissolving into raw fury. "You'll regret this. Both of you. I'll bury you in court. I'll ruin you so completely, you'll beg for mercy." I stepped forward, meeting his gaze head-on. My voice shook, but it was strong. "You already took your best shot, David. You ruined my reputation. You stole my work. You turned everyone against me. And I survived. This time, I'm not alone. This time, I'm fighting back." For the first time, I saw something flicker in his eyes, doubt. Fear. The predator was cornered. "This isn't over," he hissed. "Yes," I whispered, my voice steady as stone. "It is." When Adrian and I walked out of that tower, the city air felt different. My knees trembled. My stomach was still a knot of dread, but something inside me had shifted. For the first time in 2 years, I wasn't running. And David Moreno no longer had the power to make me disappear. The moment we stepped out of Pinnacle's tower, the autumn wind hit my face like a slap. I sucked in the cold air as if I'd been holding my breath the entire meeting. My legs trembled with every step, but adrenaline carried me forward. Adrian walked beside me, his expression calm, almost too calm. I'd seen him angry before, but this was different. This was the kind of calm that came from certainty, from a man already planning 10 moves ahead. "You handled yourself well," he said finally, his deep voice cutting through the noise of traffic. I let out a shaky laugh. I felt like I was going to faint. "But you didn't. You stood your ground, and you told him the truth. That's more than most people ever manage when facing a man like David." We reached his car, a sleek black sedan waiting at the curb. The driver opened the door, and Adrian gestured for me to get in first. I hesitated. "Where are we going?" "To my office," he replied. "We don't have much time. David won't sit quietly. By tonight, his lawyers will be mobilized. If we want to stay ahead, we start now." I slid into the car, my heart thudding. For 2 years I had lived in hiding, afraid to even whisper David's name. Now, in a single day, I had stood in front of him, accused him to his face, and walked away with Adrian at my side. It felt unreal. As the city blurred past the windows, my mind replayed David's last words. "This isn't over. I'll bury you in court." He meant it. I knew him too well. David never bluffed. Adrian's office was perched high above Manhattan, a world of glass and steel and quiet authority. His assistant greeted us with raised brows, but Adrian's sharp tone left no room for questions. "Hold my calls. Full confidentiality." Once inside, he loosened his tie and poured himself a drink. He offered me one, but my hands were too unsteady to hold a glass. I sat on the edge of the leather chair, staring at the skyline beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. "Tell me everything you have," he said. I pulled the metal box from my bag, the one I had kept hidden under my bed for years, guarding it like a lifeline. I spread its contents across his desk. Old notebooks filled with my handwriting, USB drives with time, stamped code, copies of partnership agreements, even engagement photos that proved not only our relationship, but the timeline of when we built Pinnacle together. Adrian studied each item with the precision of a surgeon. He asked questions, sharp and deliberate. He connected dots faster than I could follow. Finally, he looked up. His eyes were stormy, his jaw tight. "This is enough to ruin him, maybe even enough to put him in prison." My breath caught. Prison. For years I had dreamed of justice, but never believed it possible. David always seemed untouchable, too careful, too powerful. Hearing Adrian say it out loud felt dangerous, like speaking a forbidden wish. "He'll fight," I whispered. "He'll twist it, make me look unstable, just like before." Adrian leaned forward, his voice low and steady. "Not this time. Because this time you're not alone. You have me. You have my resources. And you have the truth." Tears pricked my eyes. For so long, I had been invisible. Now, someone finally believed me. That night, as I returned to my apartment, the fear came rushing back. I double-checked the locks, drew the curtains, sat in silence with my phone in my lap, waiting. It didn't take long. At 10:43 p.m., another message arrived. "Enjoy your moment, Anna. It won't last. I built you, and I can destroy you again. M." My hands shook as I showed the text to Adrian the next morning. He read it with narrowed eyes, then handed the phone back. "Good. Let him threaten. It only adds to the evidence." But the chill in my chest didn't ease. David wasn't just threatening legal battles. He was threatening me. Adrian must have sensed it. He placed a hand gently over mine. His palm was warm, grounding. "I won't let him hurt you. Do you understand?" I wanted to believe him, but David was a shadow that had haunted me for years, and shadows didn't vanish just because someone promised to chase them away. The next week was a blur of lawyers, investigators, and strategy meetings. Adrian's legal team dove into David's records, cross-referencing patents, contracts, financial filings. Each discovery was another crack in Pinnacle's armor. Documents altered, signatures forged, dates that didn't line up. But with each revelation, the pressure grew. David wasn't waiting quietly. He was fighting back with everything. He had press releases, questioning my credibility, anonymous articles painting me as a bitter ex, even whispers of new charges being filed. The media storm was suffocating. One morning I woke to see my face on a gossip blog. "Waitress claims to be billion-dollar co-founder. Is she a fraud or a scorned lover?" My stomach turned. I threw the phone across the room. Adrian picked it up calmly and placed it back on the table. "This is exactly what he wants to rattle you, to make you doubt yourself. Ignore it. We stick to the truth." But it wasn't easy. Walking into the restaurant for work, I could feel the whispers, the glances. My carefully built invisibility was gone. Everyone knew. Some looked at me with pity, others with suspicion. I wanted to crawl into a hole. Instead, I kept walking, head high, because if I gave in now, David would win all over again. Late one evening, after another grueling day of meetings, Adrian and I sat in his office. The city glittered below us, but the air between us was heavy with exhaustion. "Why are you doing this?" I asked suddenly. My voice was small, almost childlike. "Why risk everything for me?" He turned from the window, his eyes meeting mine. "Because you deserve justice. Because men like David don't get to win forever. And because—" He hesitated, running a hand through his hair. "Because somewhere between all the chaos, I realized I care about you. More than I should. More than I expected." The words stunned me. My chest tightened, heat rushing to my cheeks. For 2 years I had shut my heart down, convinced love was just another weapon waiting to be used against me. And yet, sitting here, hearing Adrian's quiet confession, I felt something I thought had died long ago. Hope. The next morning, his assistant burst into the office with urgent news. "David Moreno just filed an injunction," she said breathlessly. "He's demanding an immediate hearing. He's accusing Anna of intellectual theft." The irony almost made me laugh. David, accusing me of theft. Again. Adrian's jaw clenched. "Let him try. We're ready." But my stomach churned with dread, because this wasn't just a legal battle anymore. This was war. And David Moreno had just made his first move. The courthouse smelled of old paper and polished wood. My heels clicked nervously against the marble floor as Adrian and I walked side by side through the wide hallways. Sunlight filtered in through tall windows, illuminating dust motes that seemed frozen in the tense silence. I had been here before 2 years ago, standing alone, accused, humiliated. That memory made my stomach twist as though it were happening all over again. But this time was different. This time, Adrian was with me. "Breathe," he murmured as we approached the courtroom. His hand brushed mine briefly, grounding me. "We've got this." I wanted to believe him. But as the heavy wooden doors opened, my confidence wavered. Because there he was, David Moreno, standing tall in a navy suit, surrounded by a swarm of lawyers. His smirk was faint but sharp, the kind of smile that said he had already planned every move and expected to win. The sight of him still made my chest tighten, but I forced myself to stand straighter, to keep my eyes locked on his without flinching. The hearing began. David's attorney spoke first, his voice smooth and polished, designed to charm. "Your Honor, this is a clear case of an ex-fiancée seeking attention, Doctor. Martinez was never an official partner of Pinnacle Financial. She was involved socially, yes, but all claims of intellectual property belong solely to Mr. Moreno. This is nothing but a personal vendetta, dressed up as a lawsuit." The words sliced through me, echoing the same lies I'd heard before. I clenched my fists under the table, nails digging into my palms to keep from shaking. Then Adrian rose. His presence filled the room effortlessly, calm, controlled, but carrying the weight of someone who had built empires. "Your Honor," he began, "the defense would like you to believe this is about a failed relationship. But the evidence shows otherwise. We are not here to debate romance. We are here to prove theft, fraud, and deception on a scale that has defrauded investors and robbed Dr. Martinez of her life's work." He moved to the evidence table, holding up a stack of documents. "Here are the original drafts of the algorithm Pinnacle built its fortune on, dated years before Mr. Moreno filed patents in his name. Here are email exchanges showing Dr. Martinez's authorship, her research notes, and the timeline that proves she was the true innovator. And here," he pulled out a printed photo, one of the launch party images, "is proof that Mr. Moreno and Dr. Martinez were not only partners in life but in business. The attempt to erase her is not only dishonest, it's criminal." The judge leaned forward, scanning the papers. David shifted uncomfortably, though his mask never fully slipped. When it was my turn to testify, my throat felt dry as sandpaper. I walked to the witness stand, swore the oath, and sat down. The room felt too small, too suffocating, as David's attorney approached. "Dr. Martinez," he began smoothly, Isn't it true that you were romantically involved with Mr. Moreno? Yes, I said firmly. We were engaged. And isn't it possible, he continued, voice dripping with condescension, that your involvement with Pinnacle was merely as a supportive fiancé? That you confused emotional investment with professional contribution? My chest tightened, but I forced myself to meet his gaze. No. I co-founded Pinnacle. I developed the core algorithms. I have the notebooks, the code, and the emails to prove it. David Moreno would not have a company without me. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. The lawyer's smile thinned. Or perhaps, Dr. Martinez, you simply resent that your relationship ended and now seek to profit from Mr. Moreno's success. Anger flared hot in my chest. My voice rose, clear and sharp. No, what I resent is having my life stolen. What I resent is being painted as unstable, as a thief, when the real thief is sitting right there. I pointed directly at David, my hand steady. He didn't just steal my work. He stole my voice, and I refused to let him silence me again. The judge banged the gavel for order as whispers filled the room. Adrian's eyes met mine, proud, steady, unshaken. When David finally took the stand, his performance was flawless. He smiled, he charmed. He spoke of sleepless nights building Pinnacle with his own hands. He painted me as supportive but uninvolved, a woman who wanted to be part of something greater than herself, but lacked the vision. The courtroom seemed to hang on his every word. He had always been able to twist reality into something believable. For a moment, I felt the old dread creep in. What if they all believed him again? But Adrian wasn't rattled. He stood, calm and deliberate, and began his cross-examination. Mr. Moreno, Adrian said, voice cool, can you explain why early drafts of the Pinnacle algorithm, dated before your patent filings, are written entirely in Dr. Martinez's handwriting? David shifted slightly. She liked to take notes for me. Interesting, Adrian said smoothly. And can you explain why those same drafts match the metadata from Dr. Martinez's personal laptop files time-stamped years before your official records? David's jaw tightened. I don't recall. No? Adrian stepped closer. Then perhaps you can explain this email, sent from your account, acknowledging her work. An email where you wrote, and I quote, "Your model is brilliant. Once we scale it, Pinnacle will be unstoppable." Care to deny your own words? The room erupted in murmurs. David's mask cracked, his composure slipping. For the first time, I saw sweat bead at his temple. I don't remember that email, he muttered. Convenient, Adrian replied dryly. But the server remembers. The evidence is clear, Mr. Moreno. You didn't build Pinnacle, you stole it. The silence was deafening. By the time the hearing adjourned, David's lawyers were scrambling, their confidence shaken. The judge had not ruled yet, but the tide had shifted. For the first time, David looked less like an untouchable giant and more like a man standing on crumbling ground. As we walked out of the courthouse, reporters swarmed, shouting questions, snapping photos. Adrian shielded me with his arm, guiding me through the chaos. Do you think it worked? I whispered as we reached the car. Adrian looked at me, his grey eyes fierce but calm. It's just the beginning. But today we won the first battle. I exhaled, my whole body trembling. For the first time in years, I felt something I thought I had lost forever. Justice. But deep down, I knew David wasn't finished. Men like him didn't surrender. They retaliated, and the war was far from over. When I look back at those years of hiding, of shrinking myself into the shadows, I realize something. The worst prison is not the one others build for you. It's the one you build inside your own mind when you let fear decide your life. For 2 years, I believed David's lies. I believed I was nothing without him, that no one would ever believe me, that I deserved to disappear, and those thoughts kept me smaller than any cage he could have locked me in. But the moment I chose to stand up, to speak my truth out loud, everything began to change. Not because it was easy, it wasn't. Not because people suddenly believed me, many still doubted. It changed because I stopped doubting myself. That's the real lesson I want you to take from this story. Don't let anyone steal your voice. Not a partner, not a boss, not even the voice in your own head that says you're not enough. Because you are. Sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones who smile the sweetest. Sometimes the ones who seem powerful are standing on lies so fragile, it only takes one person brave enough to push back to make them crumble. If you're listening to this and you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever felt erased, I want you to know you are not alone. Your story matters, your truth matters, and you are stronger than you think. I never thought I'd find justice. I never thought I'd find love again, or trust again. But life has a way of surprising us when we finally choose courage over fear. And maybe that's what healing really is. Not forgetting the past, but refusing to let it define your future. So, what would you do if you were in my shoes? Would you keep running? Or would you finally stop and face the storm? If this story touched you, let me know in the comments. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you want more stories like this, stories of betrayal, resilience, and unexpected twists, make sure you hit subscribe and support the channel. Because the truth is, we all have battles. And sometimes, hearing how someone else fought theirs gives us the strength to fight our own.